Will worked from 2005 to 2011 at the nonprofit X Prize Foundation. He was the primary author and manager of the $30 million Google Lunar X Prize and the $2 million Northrop Grumman Lunar Lander X Challenge. He's a graduate of Harvard, the NASA Academy, and the International Space University. Please help me welcome Will Pomeranz.
People have been dreaming of traveling to space pretty much since the dawn of our species, certainly since the dawn of civilization. It's so tempting. It's up there every single night. We can look at those twinkling stars, we can look at the moon, and it just calls to us. It's something I think fundamental to our human nature, to want to go over the ultimate horizon and see what there is to see, to look back on our home world and reflect on how we got there, but also to think about what comes next. In all of human history, 517 people have gotten to do that. Almost all of them, all but basically the rounding error, were government-sanctioned official astronauts sent up either in the United States or in Russia / the Soviet Union. More recently, China also entered that club of nations able to send people to space. But it's an incredibly small number. I mean, we like to say when we're trying to be flattering to a spouse or to a child, hey, you're one in a million. If you've gone to space, you're one in about 175 million. But I think that number, those odds are way too steep. We want people to be able to go to space whenever they want. We want you to be able to go to space whether you happen to have the good fortune to be born with the exact right height, with perfect eyesight, with a great work ethic and a high IQ, or if you happen to have been born maybe like me, where my eyesight wouldn't allow me to be a NASA astronaut. We want people to go because it's fun to go, because it's inspiring to go, and ultimately because we have real economic imperatives to go. Right? We've all, if you've listened to the words of Carl Sagan or any of the other great thinkers in time, you know that our whole planet, everything we've ever done, every economic opportunity that we've ever created is just a tiniest speck of dust in this limitless galaxy. There are economic opportunities totally unimagined out there. It is, I think, without question that the first trillionaires on the planet will be made through space fortunes. We want them to be able to go. We want them to have commercial applications, etc. So we at Virgin Galactic, this new company within the Virgin Group, decided we were going to commercialize that vehicle that I showed you earlier, Spaceship One, and so we started working on the so creatively named Spaceship Two. So it's substantially larger. It is meant to carry, instead of a total of 3 passengers, this new vehicle is meant to carry a total of 8 passengers. So that works out to a pilot and a co-pilot, and then 6 customers, 6 commercial astronauts who might be flying just for fun, who might be flying for research or for training or for other jobs. It is still a 2-stage horizontal launch system, so it takes off like a normal aircraft, albeit a very cool looking one, but takes off like a normal aircraft from a normal runway. It is 2 vehicles. It's a mothership called the White Knight, or the White Knight 2 in this case, which is kind of like a catamaran of aircraft. If you think of it, it has dual fuselages. And then nested in between the fuselages is the spaceship itself. So the White Knight 2 will take off from a normal runway. It will spiral up sort of leisurely to about 51,000 feet, at which point the pilots in White Knight 2 will press a few buttons and Spaceship 2 will drop in free fall for a few seconds, on the order of 5 seconds, before its pilots light up a rocket engine and take you on a high G, very exciting, nice kind of kick in the seat ride up to space. You do go to actual space. Not a simulation, not a stretching of the definition. You cross the internationally accepted threshold of space, which is 100 kilometers, about 64 miles, up above the surface of the Earth, which means that you get to see the curvature of the Earth, you get to see the black sky, you get to take off your seatbelt and float around in weightlessness for somewhere on the order of 5 minutes. We at Virgin Galactic like to ultimately think of ourselves as an airline or a space line. And just as the airlines that you fly today don't build their own aircraft, they buy them, we ultimately hope to be able to buy our own spacecraft and just operate them as a commercial fleet. So we have Scaled Composites, the same team that won the original X Prize, that's designing the prototypes. We've mutually created a joint venture called TSC, the spaceship company. You'll see naming really our strong suit, where our creativity comes. They're going to start mass producing, for some definition of mass, these vehicles, and then again Virgin Galactic will operate them. I want to underscore, this is not PowerPoint, these are not dreams, these are not just sketches on napkins, these are real vehicles. That is a photograph of Spaceship Two and of White Knight 2. These things are still in their testing phase. They're not in commercial service yet, but hundreds of millions of dollars have been invested in this effort already by us at Virgin Galactic, as well as I know an awful lot of money here in the state of New Mexico, and I'll get to that later. But these are real, actual vehicles. You can buy tickets today. I should note that the way this vehicle returns to ground is an extraordinary one and an extraordinarily safe one. We know at Virgin Galactic, we say safety is our North Star. We know if we don't have an incredibly safe business, we don't have a business. There's no point in doing it if it's gonna recklessly endanger human lives. Space is sort of an inherently risky activity, so you can never take that risk all the way to zero, but we want to get it absolutely as low as possible. So this vehicle comes back to Earth as an unpowered glider. It's really a simple thing to land. You land it on a runway at Spaceport America. It's designed to be able to land on a normal runway, and you just fly it home. You don't have extremely complex systems. It's just an unpowered glider. People believe in this business. It's a new business. We are treading new frontiers. Again, no pun intended. But it's one that a lot of people believe is going to be very, very big. When we started building this innovative company, these beautiful new spaceships, trying to create a whole new market, we knew that we needed a home base that was going to have the vision to walk right alongside us, to make the same leaps of faith, to make the same investments, and ultimately to be there to reap the dividends when the time comes, when the time came. So in 2006 or so, 2007, we started looking for such a home. And obviously I wouldn't be here today if not for the fact that we found a very welcoming home here in the state of New Mexico. New Mexico makes a lot of sense to us for a lot of reasons. The first of all is the people and is the vision that was shown from a state level down to a local level, from people who were willing to make this investment, who are willing to vote taxes upon themselves to fund this beautiful spaceport that Chris showed you some pictures of earlier, who were willing to look at how to set up a regulatory environment that would ensure the safety of people on the ground in a way that didn't stifle the industry while it was still in the cradle. New Mexico also makes sense for a lot of sort of physical and geographical regions. When you're launching something to space, it helps to be at a high altitude. You're part of the way there already, and New Mexico has that. You also want to be at a low latitude, as close to the equator as you can get, simply put because the Earth is spinning and it spins fastest at the equator and slowest at the poles. So the closer you are to the equator, the better. New Mexico was about as close as we can get to the equator and still be in the continental United States, which worked well for us. It has great weather. We don't want to be, those of you who watch space shuttle launches have noted how often those are scrubbed because of the daily thunderstorms in Florida. We wanted someplace where we didn't have that. And as Chris mentioned, we also like the fact that we're nestled right up next to the controlled airspace of White Sands Missile Range. It is, as I understand, one of only 2 spots in the continental United States where you have airspace that extends to infinite height. I guess that and the White House are kind of the 2 areas where you have that. And that makes a lot of sense for our business. If we have a fueled spacecraft that's full of high-paying passengers sitting there ready to go and we can't get clearance from Tower because they're worried about something, then that's not the outcome that we want to have. New Mexico had already, when we were going out and making the search, had already sort of put its money where its mouth was and shown itself as a leader in this new face of the space industry. I want to touch on how we think this facility and our spacecraft and other spacecraft that are being built by our competitors and by other companies in this industry are going to be a big magnet to economic activity here in the state of New Mexico, because I absolutely believe that without a doubt. First of all, I'll begin by talking about our vehicles. Mainly when you hear Virgin Galactic, for most of my presentation today, we've been talking about this market referred to as space tourism. These are people who have a lot of money, who are looking for a totally unique, enjoyable experience, who are willing to pay $200,000 per ticket to both seed the development of a new industry and to experience an unforgettable once-in-a-lifetime moment. And there are a lot of those people. We have already taken deposits from over 400 of them. In the not too distant future, we will have sold more tickets than people have ever been to space, period. Our ultimate goal with these vehicles is to be operating multiple flights per day at 6 paying passengers per flight. We quickly start doubling, every year exceeding the number of people who had ever been to space previously. We will, in space terms, be a very high volume business, even though if by normal terms, by aircraft terms, we're still quite a low volume business. But in space terms, we're a very high volume business, and there have been a number of independent studies. Obviously, we've looked at this data pretty carefully, as have some of our competitors, but a number of truly objective parties have looked at the size of that purely tourism market, the people who just want to go for fun, and it is very, very large. We just recently took deposits for our first seats for people who are going as dedicated scientists. Again, I know these guys, they are going to actually be smiling a mile wide, but they're going to do science. We have the former chief scientist, effectively, for NASA and his institute, the Southwest Research Institute, have already signed up to buy several seats and are hoping, I know, to buy several more. Pretty much any type of physical sciences or life sciences that you can imagine can benefit from doing new experiments in space. If you think about it, scientists from Newton and even before that have all been doing experiments in the same laboratory, just with fancier equipment. But they've all been doing them under roughly the same conditions, one Earth gravity, similar atmospheric pressure, et cetera. We're offering scientists of all different stripes, all ages and colors, the access to a totally new environment. This chance to go up and be in space, to be in microgravity, to be above the vast majority of the atmosphere, and to do things, not only some of the obvious things like astronomy, Earth observing, but also the fundamentals of material sciences, the growing of new pharmaceuticals. People, remember, are coming here for a unique asset. They're coming here for the natural splendor of New Mexico, for all the things that it offers, but they're also coming here for the spaceflight activity. So again, these are things that will be happening right here in this state, that will be bringing not only the scientists who are using up some hotel rooms, but will probably be involving some high-skilled jobs for integrating payloads, for doing some initial, for doing communication services with the vehicles, et cetera.